And he said, "Boy, this is some coincidence. All you guys showing up at the same place at the same time we were having lunch." And he just couldn't get over it. And we had the greatest fun doing that.
You mentioned you had some conflicts with Coach Smith. What were those kind of conflicts? What were they about?
Well, one was about going to church, and other was about partying a little bit too hard. And the one about church was when I first got there. He made us all go to church, and then we had to bring back the brochure from the church, and I got Billy to bring me back a brochure or whatever they called it, and used to turn it in. And finally, I said, "Coach, I can't live this. I mean, I wouldn't go to church normally, so I'm gonna, just tell you I'm not going to do it anymore." And he said, "Well, if you were at home, wouldn't your parents make you go to church?" I said, "No, they wouldn't." And that was the end of that conversation.
Wow, that's very interesting. And you were a partier back in your time? You hit the bars up on Franklin Street?
Once in a while, but I mean, after you work so hard and play so hard, I used to like to have a beer once in a while after games, and that wasn't in his program. So after a few conflicts there, he just said, "We're going to quit that." I said, "Okay, that's
fine." Wow. Another thing about Coach Smith, and one of the things that was about his legacy, was he is a very instrumental in integrating Chapel Hill and the ACC for that matter, and he was advocate for his players to be involved with social issues. What was that like? You grew up in the 60s, playing in the 60s. He brings in Charlie Scott, and that had mixed emotions. Can you explain what the climate was like in the town of Chapel Hill during that time period?
Well, actually, I didn't go through the time he was there, and actually, I didn't know that they had segregation in Chapel Hill at certain places. I think that was just disbanding. And when I got there, I played with blacks up at where I live here, and summer times we played together all the time. So I had no understanding of any kind of disassociation with each other. But when Charlie came, I was more than happy. I was thrilled that he came to visit, and I helped recruit him. And during our time together, I told him if he came here that we would have a chance at the national title, and that also that he would never have a problem with anybody as long as I was aware of it, or his teammates were aware of it. We would always be looking out for him, and so we never did see any of that stuff. So fortunately, that was the start of that era, a good era.
There was a lot of talk whenever Coach Smith retired back in the 90s that he would run for public office and be in politics. Do you think he would have made a good politician?
I don't know. I think politics sometimes are a compromise, and I don't think he would like to compromise. So I don't see him as a politician. I see him as a great man, though.
Okay. Before we move on to your professional basketball career, any last things about Carolina that maybe another story or two you could tell us about what it was like playing for the Tar Heels, playing for Coach Smith, playing with Bobby Lewis?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a wonderful experience, and I still think about it today. That's why I'm glad we had a chance to put this down into a book form, because it was such a great experience, and I'm so happy I made that choice, because I'm able to this day talk to these players and relive some of these memories. It was fabulous, and I think everybody that chose Carolina feels the same way that I do, that it was the greatest decision that they made in their lifetimes.
All right, let's get your pro basketball career, then we'll talk about the book, which is the main reason why I had you on. You had a very successful pro career, although it wasn't in the NBA. How much different was the game at the pro level as compared to what you were doing at college?
Well, I'll tell you, the difference was that you didn't have the discipline or the understanding of what – there was so much confusion or so much transition in the pros that – people didn't understand, what I could do as a player. for example, the first game that I played in as a pro with the Los Angeles Stars, the game was on the line. I'm having a decent game in the 20s, rebounds in double figures, assists probably 7 or 8, and the game's on the line. And with a couple minutes left to go, the coach pulls me out, and I figure he's pulling me out to set up a last play or to tell me something. But no, he sits me on the bench during the end of the game. Now, I just get out of college, a successful college career where I'm usually in at the end of the game trying to win it, and sometimes, did that. So that was my first experience in the pros, was getting sat down with the game on the line. So, you go figure.
Why did you go the ABA route as opposed to playing in the NBA?
Because the NBA had a pre-draft, and they didn't take me in the first couple players. They were trying to do something with the money thing, and they took me in the later rounds, but we decided that the money was better. They put it in escrow for 3 years. So Coach Smith actually negotiated my contract for me.
Oh.
So, yeah, really, that was an amazing part, huh?
He wasn't too mad that you missed church and drank a few beers after wins to get you a professional contract. So what was – go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that we still respected each other after those incidents, and he always knew I could play, and he always knew I had a desire for the game. I worked hard for it, and that I respected the game and the people that I worked with. So he would help anybody, by the way. He would help any player of any rank, in the same way he did me.
Now that's one of the great parts of him, and it's one of the reasons why the Carolina family, is what it is. So what was life like for you after basketball, Larry?
And it was, I was all set for it. I made the move, and I was offered a lot of jobs in the pros, even a couple comebacks, a couple coaching jobs, scouting jobs, whatever. But I just decided I was going to get away from basketball and make a go at it from there. And I chose real estate because I was interested in it, and I could do it myself. And I could do it in Carolina or wherever I wanted to do it.
Well, that's one other thing is you're always prepared for life after basketball. All right, let's talk about the book that you are co-authoring. What made that idea come up, and what made you go through with writing the book?
First of all, I was sitting here in my backyard in my garden, and one day Stephen Demarest, who's the author, and his wife Nancy, they were coming through this area going to Rhode Island where they have a summer home, and they saw Catasauqua Road where they were staying, and that was close to my home, and they said, that's the home of Larry Miller. And then they decided to go visit me, stop by and bring some coffee, because Nancy was a fan of mine. She was 11 years old when I was, a senior at Chapel Hill. And she had written me a letter, and she came to the backyard and just said she was a Carolina fan, and that what was I doing nowadays? And then she asked me some questions, and she said, I wrote you a letter when I was a kid. And I said, oh, you did? I said, well, I had those letters, and I was thinking about maybe writing a book and calling it Those Crazy Carolina Kids, and then publishing some of their letters and just make some comments about it. Nothing really, I didn't have anything really in mind. But a couple days later, I found that letter she wrote me. I mailed it to her, and somehow that sparked her interest in it. She said, we got to do something here. And that was 4 years ago, and we've been working on it since. And I'm really extremely pleased with it. It tells the story of the era, the times, and it goes through with me going through those times with other people that I still know today and admire and love. And so I'm so happy it happened that just the two of us met at that time and decided to do this. So that's basically how we started.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the experience. Roy Williams often has said that writing his autobiography was the toughest thing he's ever done. Did you have any challenges sitting down and writing out your story as a Carolina basketball player and a student at UNC?
No, I didn't have any problem with that. We just had to, afterward, we had to take out some of the things that we had some funny stories in there, but they were probably a little too gruff for some of our readers. So we had to take it from X-rated down to general public.
Oh goodness. Okay. All right. So where can readers and Tar Heel fans find this book, and when's it going to be available for us to purchase and get a further insight at Larry Miller, the basketball player?
Well, you can get it at Amazon, and you can order it right now. There's a lot of confusion about it because I don't understand publishing, because we self-publish this book, but it's available for order right now. Or you can go to somebody called bookshop.org, and if you want to go through your local bookstore, so they get credit for the purchase, just call them up and they can order it for you. So.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Sweet.
It's out now.
I know for me, I've got a collection of Carolina basketball books. I'll definitely be adding that to my collection. Lastly, Larry, and I'll get you out on this. Are you still an active follower of the Carolina basketball program?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I go to a game every year. I love it. It's one of we call this the Carolina experience. I take a bunch of different people that I've never taken down to Chapel Hill from this area, and we go to a game and we do the tour. We have people down there that entertain us, and it's a wonderful event, and everybody from up here, it's a lifetime experience for them. But I do follow them. I love Roy, and I can only wish them the best.
Okay, and so one last thing. Carolina went 14-19 last year, and they're losing a lot of production, but they're bringing in a lot of talent this year. What do you guys say about this year? Do you think they're going to bounce back and be ACC contenders?
Well, with this situation the way it is with the virus and all that, I have no idea. I really don't. But fortunately, they did win the game for us when we were down there. So,
well, maybe we just got to get you into Chapel Hill more often then.
There you go. I love it.
Well, listen.
I did enjoy talking to you. You brought back a lot of good memories.
Well, I got to thank you for taking some time out of your day. I'm sorry I'm disturbing you and your garden to come on and talk a little Carolina basketball.
No, this is not a disruption of my time. I feel honored to talk to you about this.
All right. Well, Larry, once again, thanks again, and I'll make sure to get your book, and then maybe one day down the road we'll come on and talk again about some Carolina basketball memories. Maybe you can tell us some of those X-rated stories you couldn't put in your book.
Okay, well, all right, sounds like a deal.
All right, Larry, you take care, sir.
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And there you go, guys. That's former Carolina basketball legend Larry Miller talking with us about some of his experiences at Carolina, playing for Coach Smith, playing in the ACC. And I got to tell you, I was caught off guard by the fake going to church, the drinking the beers after the game, and some of those X-rated stories. So it was awesome. It was a great chance for us to get him on and talk with us about some of his experiences at Carolina. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the podcast. Before I let you go, we encourage you guys to like and subscribe. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Pandora. Give us a like. Review me as the host. Review Anthony and Mark when they're on here talking as well. But most importantly, we encourage you guys to subscribe. That way you don't miss an episode like this one we have for you today. Well, let's wrap it up for this edition of the podcast. We thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.